Good morning, guys. We're in the field this morning working on a John Deere 9600. So the issue with this one is apparently a lot of blue smoke, and yesterday he noticed when he pulled the dipstick that the engine oil is over full, smells like diesel fuel. So we gotta check this out and find out what exactly is going on. So the first step is we gotta confirm the complaint. So is the oil over full? Yeah, oil is way over full. So it's there, and the full line is right there. So we're an inch over full, and that oil's thin. Definitely smells not so much like diesel fuel, but it smells like diesel exhaust. Okay. I don't want to run it too long with super thin oil like that. Also noticing we got a lot of oil underneath here, which is probably coming from either the rear main seal or the engine gear case seal. So it kind of looks like this one needs to get split at some point. I always thought that was so silly on these combines. They used a rubber dampener in there between the engine and the gear case, which is great, but they used a type of rubber that can't handle oil. So as soon as you get a leak, it destroys that coupler, and it's really expensive. Always bugs me. Like, we got all kinds of rubbers and stuff that we can use that oil doesn't bother. Why would they not put that in an application where there's petroleum on both sides of it? Anyway, I am gonna go fire this thing up, and you guys watch that exhaust and let's see what it actually winds up doing. Does it smoke a ton of blue? Do we have a bad injector? Is the engine running bad? Are we missing? I'm suspecting at this point we're probably missing on one cylinder, but we'll find out. Got a 37E code in the cab here. That's pretty normal for a cold start. With this guy. Yeah, so I don't know if you could really tell in the video. I won't know until I actually go through the audio, but it's definitely missing, but it's not like a full miss where it's like ba 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 ba. Not quite. It's a little more subtle than that. Sometimes it can be hard to tell on a video anyway. But this has got what I would call a half miss. And then you saw all that, you know, looked like water leaking out of the exhaust manifold. Well, that's unburnt fuel. So that tells me right there that we got an issue with a cylinder. And what I'm gonna attempt to do now is, if I run the engine, I can get a nice infrared picture of these exhaust ports, and I can start to narrow down exactly which cylinder it is that's not firing. The one that's not firing right should be a lot colder than all the rest of them. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. So with these bars and everything here, it's a little bit tough for me to get you in to see. Oh, I think it's number 5. Number 5 is like 150. Number 4 is 184. And that one's 175. Okay guys, so what's going on here is I need to get this number 5 injector out, which means I got a few fuel lines I got to get out of the way, and I got to take the leak off rail off of there so I can get that guy out. That'll make sense more in a bit. Have to take this leak off stuff off of there to get the injector out. And of course, removing that air tube was the first step, so at least I got some room to work here. If I'm doing a whole lot of injection work on these combines, I generally wind up taking the whole air breather off and the center support bar, and then I flip that wiring harness out of the way, and then I can work at it a lot easier. So to get those fuel lines off, the first step is to get all these brackets off. If you're gonna take all the lines off together, you can leave those all on there, but I wanna, if I can, I wanna just take that one line out of there. Maybe that one if I have to for room, but I'm hoping I can just take the one line off. All right, fuel lines off and out of the way. I got this guy loosened off, the leak off line. I can't really get you a good view of it, but these all just seal with rubber packing, so you can loosen them off a little bit and turn them. So I just turned them down out of the way, and now I gotta grab a special socket to get that injector out. That should be in here. Yes, that one. Got a lot of special timing tools and different stuff in here. Yeah, this guy here. That is the socket that we need for installing and removing those injectors. All right, so that guy, I'm gonna have to pull that cap off. Sits on there like so. It has a window in the socket for a specific reason. That is for installing. So if I get to that part of it, then maybe I'll explain that. Oh, she's tight, this one. It's tight. Oh, ouch, that hurt me. Ow. Ow. Okay, that should pull out of there now. This one high pressure line is a little bit in the way. Oops. There we go. Okay. There is our injector that I am suspicious of. It's got pretty good coking and it's very wet. So hopefully I got the right cylinder. That probably is going to be the one. Of course, we want to make sure we don't get a bunch of junk down in that hole while I'm gone, because we are just out in the middle of the field here. So there, that's that. Okay guys, let me clean up these tools and jump back in the truck, and I will see you back at the shop. Actually, while we're heading back to the shop, I want to tell you about something really cool. Or at least I think it's cool. So this will be back in the spring. The YouTube channel was not very old at that point. I got an email, just random email to my YouTube address from just some random person, and he wanted my mailing address. And I'm new to this, like I'm trying to be, oh, what's the word, cautious, I guess. There are people out there whose desire is to destroy you. That's just the way life is. And so I'm like, no buddy, I'm not giving you my email address or my mailing address. It doesn't work that way. Like, I'm not just gonna give my mailing address. Well, he wanted to ship me something. He wouldn't tell me what he was shipping me. Whatever. So, whatever, fine. I gave him not my mailing address, but a mailing address to a place where I can go and get packages picked up. And then I waited. And all of a sudden I had this random package show up. So, okay. I opened this thing up, and this guy sent me some really cool stuff. I don't know to this day, I do not know who it is. I don't know where he lives. I don't know anything. I think this package came out of Ontario, but the point of the whole thing is here, he sent me a specific John Deere tool, and I've seen these before, never used one, but I know exactly what it's for, and we'll be able to use it on this combine today, actually. This is the first time since spring that I actually came across a project where I can use it, and so now it just got me thinking about that again. It's just been sitting in the drawer. I wanted to do like a dedicated YouTube video for a few guys that have actually sent me stuff, which blows my mind. There are people out there who it seems like their mission is to destroy you, and there are people out there who are just so generous and encouraging, you know? Anyway, so we get to the shop, remind me. I'll show you what's going on. I think it's pretty cool. And we're back at the shop. All right, guys, I did not set up a cardboard this time. I usually do that so you can see the spray pattern better, but I'm kind of in a hurry here, so hopefully you can see without me doing that today. All right, let's get this thing bled up, and hopefully I got the right injector. Oh, wow. Yes, this injector is completely fried. Look at it just running. That thing is shot. Okay, we'll get an injector. They change these things up like 47 times, so I always find it a little bit confusing now to get the right injector for these things, but anyway, we'll get one coming. Oh yeah, the tool. All right, so I go to the post office one day and this package is sitting there, so I pick it up and I'm like, so this is actually real. Like, somebody actually sent me a package. Anyway, I opened this thing up back here at the shop, and I wished that I had done a dedicated video for this because it's pretty cool. But I open this up and the first thing I see is this end of a wrench. And I'm like, I think I know exactly what that's for. So I pull this thing out and a bunch of other stuff comes out of here. That wrench right there, that is a JDE 69B. That wrench, if I would buy that from John Deere today, is over $100. That's a pretty expensive gift. But not just anybody is gonna have this. This is an old used tool. I'll explain this in a minute. That's awesome. I know exactly what that's for. And then there's this cool little box. And inside there is, like, I'm sure that's like a vintage John Deere belt buckle. Is that cool or what? That is just awesome. Now, you guys don't see me outside of work, but if you did, I generally wear a cowboy hat, boots, and a belt buckle. It's just the way I was raised. Grew up on a dairy farm, we always had horses and all that kind of stuff, and I just always was geared a little more to the western side of things. And the other thing that was in there is this decal, where that's actually a magnet, is actually what it is. John Deere Certified ADT. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is in relation to certification for articulated dump trucks, because that's what John Deere calls their articulated dump trucks, the ADTs, or if this has to do with John Deere's training, because John Deere does have their own training courses, John Deere University, as well as a whole bunch of DLMs and stuff like that. But either way, that is so cool. If you know what this actually is referring to, I wouldn't mind if you put it in the comments, because I would kind of like to learn that. So to the man that sent me this stuff, you are awesome, and I am very grateful. That is very cool. So let's talk about this wrench. I have always had this socket for doing the injectors. At the dealerships that I worked at, this was generally what we used. So you have your socket with that nut pattern, and then you have that rod and that adapter. So the way this works is when you screw this thing into the engine, you're turning that nut, but the injector can turn with it. So you need a way to hold that injector from turning, right? So there's that adapter that slides over the top, and that hole lines up with that hole, because that hole has to be in exactly the right place for your leak-off rail to screw to, right? So that rod goes in there and holds it like that. So now you can hold that injector from moving. So what you do is there we go. That adapter goes over top, that socket goes over top, and there's a window in there, and that window is for that rod to stick through so that you have some movement to tighten that injector up. So you tighten it up so far, you lift it, spin it, drop it down, turn it again, lift it, spin it, drop it down, and that's how you tighten them until you can torque it up. So you can probably guess what this wrench is for by now. That has that same nut pattern in there, and that fits over top of these injectors. You find these injectors on 9600s, on 4020s. I mean, they're on all those 7.6 liter engines. They're all over the place, these things. Very, very common. And so then that's what this tool now is for, is to spin that nut on. Sweet, eh? And then if you want to hold it straight, you're going to hold it with a wrench on these two flats right here, and then you can still turn this thing. So very, very cool. Very much appreciate that. That package just kind of sat in a drawer waiting for me to do a video on it, and I never got to it. So today, this guy is going to get mounted on the toolbox right there. Nice. That's awesome. And I want to show you something else while I'm at it here. Hey, check that out. That clock right there was sent to me by a viewer. I never had clocks in the shop, so I always get home late and my wife never knows what's going on and makes it a little hard on her sometimes. There's another one sent by the same viewer. Sent me 2 clocks. Guys, that is pretty cool, and I believe in giving credit where credit is due, so I really appreciate that, fellas. Definitely uncalled for, so to speak. I really want everybody to understand that I don't do these YouTube videos to get free stuff. I mean, that's really generous and really cool when guys do that, but this channel is just to share a little bit of information that I know. Sometimes you're trying to do projects yourself, and it can be difficult to find the information that you need. I hope I can be entertaining and helpful to somebody out there. You know, that's the goal of it. That's the idea of it. But at the same time, I don't want to diminish the fact that guys are so kind in sending things like that. I just can't believe that little old me in the universe, people would be sending stuff like that. It just blows my mind. So again, very much appreciated. Very, very cool. So this tool, guys, I'm going to use that tool to put that injector back in that combine. Well, I'm not going to put that one back in because it's completely shot. I should probably talk more about that. I just cranked the handle a couple times and said it was shot, and then I just kind of ran away with it. But you could see when I gave it, or tried to give it some pressure, it just kind of peed everywhere. Injectors should build a whole bunch of pressure and then go pfft, and just give one quick pop, and a really nice foggy spray pattern is what it should be doing. We didn't see that. As soon as it got a tiny bit of pressure, it just peed. Now what happens with that is that diesel fuel does not just burn as a liquid. You have to atomize it. You have to turn it into like basically a vapor. And that's the injector's job, is to turn it into this fog, this mist that goes into the cylinder. Now it can heat up and actually burn. So when you have an injector like this that doesn't actually spray properly like that, it just puts raw diesel fuel in the cylinder, and it can burn some of it, but not all of it. And that's why we had diesel fuel running out of the exhaust manifold down the back of the motor. That's why it's smoking blue, all that kind of stuff, because it just can't burn that fuel. But that fuel continuously just keeps on going into the cylinder because it's a mechanical engine. It doesn't know number 5 isn't firing properly. So every time the camshaft comes around, the crankshaft comes around, and the injection pump comes around to that number 5, it just fires it, puts a bunch more fuel in. And if that fuel doesn't get burnt, it's going to collect and has to go somewhere. Some goes out the exhaust, some of it washes past the rings down into the engine, which is why we're an inch over full in the crankcase. It's just full of diesel fuel. So if you continue to run it like that, it'll wash the rings out of it. They'll never be able to seal again. The thing will always burn oil, stuff like that. You're going to be down on power a little bit as well. And I asked my customer, I said, do you notice that you're low on power? And he said, honestly, he says, I don't push my combines, Ray. So if it's low on power, I don't really know. Like, I just kind of take it easy. Well, okay, it's a good operator. He would be low on power, he just doesn't know it. So we're going to get a new injector. We'll get back out there and get that thing back in the combine and make that thing work the way it's supposed to again. All right, guys, we're heading back out to the field. Customer should be back there with the injector by the time I get there. Let's go get that thing together. Okay, he is not here, but it kind of looks like he's been and gone. Man, I'm telling you, the sun is shining. It is a beautiful Canadian fall day today. Look at that. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Nice breeze. It's actually a little on the warm side for me, but looks like we got oil and filters and stuff here to do oil change, so that's good. Here's our new injector. And there's the old one. Yep, looks the same. Perfect. Okay guys, I went inside there with a board brush before I left and cleaned that up. You probably can't even see in there, but it's nice and cleaned out now. So now let me get a little bit of Tonta Seas on that injector. You pretty much have to be Mennonite to appreciate that one. Anyway, I'll get some anti-seize on here and then we'll get her stuck in there. I don't usually go any lower than right there because I don't want to get it on the sealing washer. But what this does is it just makes it so that next time you have to pull that injector out, it doesn't seize itself in the bore, which is what happens with these things sometimes. Okay, looks good. You pull your protector off of here. Oh, looks like I'm going to need to put some grease on this. I'll be right back. Okay, just a wee dab of grease on the ends there, and that holds that washer from falling off. So now I should be able to drop this in, like so, spin it a little bit, boop, boop, and then I'm gonna go and get that wrench. Oh no, that wrench might not work on this one. Oh, I'm just not totally convinced I can get this down. Oh, yeah, it's gonna work fine. I was thinking I might have to get these lines all off of here to actually have room for it, but no, it works. Nice. Okay, I gotta spin this injector and hold it. Gotta grab another wrench here. Yeah, spin this guy around because I need that. I need that bleed port to be on this side. Well, turn. Huh, I'm gonna have to take this out of here, I guess. Wonder if I hold this one on that side. There we go. New tool, you just gotta figure it out. All right, let me grab the torque wrench. And we'll set the Ford dyno to 65 pounds a feet. That's what the torque spec is for these injectors in this motor. Just make sure that I actually have that thing straight. Yeah, looks like it. Okay, hold that from turning and torque. Gotta get another click out of it. Perfect. Okay, that injector is in there nice and tight. Now we'll get our leak off line put on there. It's a bit of monkeying around if you don't take that leak off line right off, but it's kind of like a lot less work too. There we go. Now we're getting close. That should do it. Okay, let me grab a wrench. Okay, let's see if we can get them to bite into the threads there without destroying things. That would be handy. Okay, and then tighten these up again. All right, those guys are all tightened up. I'll pull our caps off. Make sure everything is clean before we go back together. Okay, tighten those up by hand, and then I'm going to put these blocks on because these things kind of help determine where that steel line is going to sit. And I don't like to tighten those nuts and then when you go to put these in, the lines have all this pressure on them and they don't really want to move and stuff. I don't really like that. I don't like that tension on them. As much as I can avoid that, I try to, so it really helps if you put these clamps on and snug them all up a little bit before you tighten those the nuts for the lines. All right, now I'll show you something else that you never saw before because I thought I was taping and I wasn't. They have these split sockets for doing these lines because sometimes it's really inconvenient to get a wrench in there and actually turn the nut. You know, like I can turn it up till there and now I can't get on it again. So they have these split sockets that do the same thing as the injector. They can kind of go over top and then they can turn a certain amount of degrees or whatever. So I can pop them down there and I can do the rest actually fairly easily now. And this is one of those do as I say, not as I do moments, guys. Beep! Always torque these. Beep! The torque spec is 20 foot-pounds on these ones. Now that one I can't get the socket on very easily, but I should be able to get a wrench on it, like so. You should always torque these lines. Beep! Beep! If you don't torque them, 99% of the time they're over-torqued. And once you over-torque them, it kind of destroys them. It's a bad idea. Just get your torque wrench out and do it properly. Don't do what I just did. I've been doing this for a while, so I know how tight they should feel. Now that those lines are tight, now I'm gonna go ahead and snug up these other, I don't even know what you call them. Brackets, hold down brackets, holding brackets. Keeps the lines from buzzing and vibrating because they do pulse. Every time an injector fires, that line pulses. Awesome. Okay, so typically what I should be doing is starting the engine and checking for leaks and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I will. I'll go fire it up. We'll check it for leaks, and while this thing is running, I'll go inside the tank and put that cover back on there as well. Should be done with that now. I don't need to do any more diagnosing, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I actually kind of changed my mind here a little bit. I'm gonna put that air tube in there because the sun is on my back and it's quite hot. It's hotter than I realized. I should put that air tube on, get that out of my way so that once this engine is all hot, I don't have to stand here working over top of it. Oh, and actually another thing. We gotta check out our wires here because he had a 37E code. I should be pulling this apart before I block this up with that tube and see what our fuel temperature sensor is doing here. I think we got some bad wires just like right there, so I think I can fix this pretty easily. Let me do that first. All right, I'll get this thing off of here and see if we can fix this or not. Oh wow, that was tight. This one has not been off for a couple of days. I'm gonna have this all twisted up by the time I get it off of there. Oh, it's spinning the whole sensor. I can't even grab it from there. Yeah, that thing has just welded itself to the sensor and the sensor's getting destroyed, so I guess we're gonna have to get a sensor and then we'll probably just order the new pigtail for this then. You can buy these in a pigtail, or at least you used to be able to. So I'm gonna tighten these guys back up and electrical tape it a bit, try and keep them from touching, and hopefully that'll at least get it going, but I'm not gonna get this one apart without wrecking that sensor, unfortunately. And I was gonna get him to bring one of those pigtails with the injector and I completely forgot about that. But I guess we need a sensor now anyway, so in the end I suppose it's not such a big deal. I was too focused on that injector. Try and tape this with a little bit of separation between the two of them. Stick that electrical tape in between a bit. All right, we'll tighten these guys up a bit. Got a little bit of separation there between the wires. If I can tighten this back up, that'll help clamp them a little bit. And then of course we'll put some Canada tape on here so we can try and give it a little bit more rigidity for those wires. Give them a little bit of support. Well, new injector's in.
Well, that's good.
Haven't run it yet, but it'll run fine. Just trying to fix this up enough to make this work properly for now.
Oh.
I tried to pull that connector off, but I am wrecking the temperature sensor. It's just welded right together, so I have to get the pigtail and a new temperature sensor and then to fix this properly, but I'm hoping that this will at least work for now.
Okay.
Because that 37E code will make it run stupid too. Or it can also make it not start. Alright guys, so the plan is we're going to fire this thing up and see how it runs. Then we're going to spin the combine around and face it uphill so that the drain on the pan is at the back and it'll drain a lot faster. Plus, once the oil is warmed up a bit, it'll drain a lot easier and quicker too. Like this for a bit. Yeah, I don't know how well you're going to be able to tell this on the camera, but this thing is running completely different now. Just a hair of smoke. It's going to have to burn all that unburned fuel out of the muffler and the exhaust and everything. That's where that smoke is coming from. But that motor is running nice and smooth now. You can tell the difference on the camera. Well, the 37E code is gone, so that's good. Look at that, eh? This thing did the trick just awesome. Thanks, buddy. That's great. Well, there we go, guys. That one is done, at least for my part. The customer's out there changing the oil in there right now. He's fine to do that himself. So that blue smoke, it's gonna smoke a little bit for a little while because the exhaust manifold, the exhaust side of the turbo, the muffler, all that stuff is full of unburnt raw fuel, and as that engine gets hot, it's going to cook that out of there and it'll burn off and smoke. So it's going to smoke a little bit for a little while. I did not test the rest of the injectors, and the reason why is because in a case like this, guys just need to get going. So that may be something that we look at in the future, is pulling all the injectors out and testing them all to see if it's just one random failure or if the combine is just at a point where it needs new injectors. This engine has, I think it was 4,400 hours on it. So it's a little low to be needing injectors in my book for a mechanical engine. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. Appreciate you watching. I hope you got something out of it. I'll see you on the next one. And in the meantime, grab a wrench, go fix something. What a beautiful day.